Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans, I'm Keith One Shot, and this is my Comic Complete Dramatic Reading Series, and today we will be covering The Flash Issue 28, Negative Part 1 by DC Comics. All art, text, characters, and storylines belong to DC Comics and their respective owners. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to go out and support DC Comics and your local comic book shop. We start the story off with the phone ringing in an abandoned building, where we see a shadowy figure answer the phone and say, "How the hell did you find a landline in Central City, boss?" The person on the other end of the phone then says, "Too many ears to the air. Thanks to my current predicament, we needed to create a secure line." The shadowy man then replies, "What's the word?" We then see Barry Allen running through Central City in his new red and black Negative Flash suit. Then, suddenly we see three criminals riding on super fast motorcycles, capable of matching the Flash's speeds. One of the criminals then says, "If you want to race, Flash, all you gotta do is ask." We then hear the Flash narrate, "My name is Barry Allen, and I'm the fastest man alive, but now that speed comes at a cost. Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, has tormented me my whole life, and recently, he found a new way to hurt me. He made me confront how my actions as the Flash had hurt the people I love, that I am my greatest enemy. Thawne tried to trap me in the Negative Speed Force to hurt me, but it backfired." We then see Barry Allen, the Negative Flash, chasing after the biker gang as they are pursuing an armored car. Then Barry continues to narrate, "It infected me instead. Now I have a whole new set of powers that I don't fully understand. I want to learn how to use them, but now I have to deal with these rubber-burning thieves who call themselves the Road Reapers. Their MO is knocking off armored cars while in transit. They've had some success because they stay on the move, and GCPD just doesn't have the resources to keep up with them." We then see the Road Reapers fire off a few shots of Flash as we hear Barry narrate, "In the past, I would have dodged the Road Reapers' bullets or vibrated so they would pass through me, but now, the bullets turn to ash before they can make contact. The Speed Force used to give me a protective aura that would keep me safe from harm when I ran, but this new Negative Speed Force aura is unpredictable. I can handle it. I know I can. I have to." The chase continues as the Road Reapers fire shots at the armored truck. The Flash races ahead of the truck. Then he quickly and violently tackles the driver and passenger out of the armored truck as his Negative Speed Force lightning causes the driverless truck to flip over, then it crashes and explodes. The Road Reapers then drive away as they say to the Flash, "I guess that's one way to stop us from stealing it, Flash. Ha ha ha." The Flash then asks the two guards, You two okay?" One of the guards replies by saying, "Your lightning blew up our truck." Then the Flash tells them, I'm sorry. I didn't know that could happen." The driver then says, "Our truck is the least of your worries, Flash." The Flash turns around and sees the path of destruction from his Negative Speed Force energy as we hear Barry narrate, "So much destruction left in my wake. Thanks to my new powers, this is all my fault. Thawne was right. I hurt everything I touch." The driver of the truck then says to Flash, "I've seen Central City wrecked by all kinds of criminals, but never by you, Flash." The other guard then says, "Go easy on him. He'll fix it like he always does. Right, Flash?" Then the Flash bolts away as the guard says, "Flash?" We then see Barry Allen, tired and stumbling in an alley, as we hear Barry narrate, "I would never do anything to endanger Central City on purpose. If I repair the damage I've done, would my destructive aura only make things worse? Ever since I became the Flash, my metabolism would run hot, burn off calories, and I'd be tired until I recharged. But now, if I use any kind of speed, I'm exhausted, sore in ways I've never felt before." Barry looks at his arms, which are now gray, due to his Negative Speed Force infection, as Barry continues to narrate, "What did Thawne do to me? I'm already late to the crime lab. Again, I can't run there. Too much of a danger to the city. Need to find new modes of transportation." We then see Barry on a crowded bus as he goes on to narrate, "Of course it's the hottest day on record in Central City. The streets could fry an egg. Even when I was a kid, I wasn't a big fan of summer." We then see Barry walking up the steps with the Central City Police Department, then walks into the crime lab as he goes on to narrate, "My mom used to think it was because I love school too much, and she was right, but it was also because I hate the heat. At the very least, I'm lucky that the Central City Crime Lab has to stay cold to preserve the evidence. If I can get to my lab without any distractions, hopefully I can make it to my lab before Stan notices that I'm late. Again." We then see Barry making himself a coffee as he looks at the cup that Iris had given him that says, "World's Best Boyfriend," which causes Barry to sigh in sadness. As Barry's walking to his lab, he is stopped by his friend Forrest, who says, "Hey, Barry, where's the fire, buddy? You need to?" Barry responds by saying, "Can this wait, Forrest? I don't have time for water cooler talk. I need to get to my lab before." Forrest then says, "Hey, no worries, my man. Just wanted to give you the heads up. Your laces." Barry then says, "Dang, Forrest, I'm sorry, Forrest then says, "It's nothing, Barry. Just didn't want you to trip. You don't need to entertain me." Barry then thinks to himself, "I had a rough morning, but that's no excuse to be rude to Forrest. He doesn't know what's going on with me. How could I even begin to tell him the truth? That my ex-girlfriend Iris West was kidnapped and taken to a Flash museum in the 25th century." We then see a memory of Barry and Thawne inside the Negative Speed Force as Barry thinks to himself, "After Thawne had brutally attacked Kid Flash, he showed me that the future would be safer if I was alone, if Iris and I stayed apart. Because we were connected by the Negative Speed Force, I was able to take his powers. But even without his speed, Thawne swore that he would never stop coming after me. He'd never stop hurting the people that I love. So Iris killed him. I didn't handle it very well. Iris asked for space. I've been trying to focus on work in the crime lab. Keep my mind off of Thawne, Iris, and Wally. Lock myself in my lab, away from anyone." And see Barry in the office, as Ramsey gives Barry a file and says, "Here's the autopsy report on that ghastly Murray case, Alan." Barry responds by saying, "Thanks, Ramsey. I'll look as soon as I get to my..." Then, as soon as Barry gets the file, we see Kristen Kramer grab it and say, "Mine!" Barry then says, "Christian, that evidence is time sensitive." Christian then tells Barry exactly why I should be the one going over them. Barry then asks Kristen, "Can we talk about this in my lab, please? I'd really like to get up there before Sid notices that but it's too late," as we hear David Sin yell, "Alan, my office! You too, Kramer!" We then see Barry and a few others in David Sin's office, as David says, "Close the door. Alan, Kristen, you both know Detective Burns and Morrow. I've called you all in here for a private matter, off the books. Yesterday, I was reviewing files for a closed case for a parole board hearing, the Belladonna murder." Barry then says, "Didn't you process that case yourself, Sin?" Christian then says, "I'll never forget it. It was bloody. It was one of the first cases I helped on when I was an intern. Director Sin, that was a slam dunk." Sin then says, "Well, the blood samples from that case are missing from the evidence room." Barry says, "What?" Then Sin says, "But that's the start of our problems. It's not an isolated incident. I checked. A lot of evidence is missing. Samples from our lab. Small samples that went unnoticed because the cases were closed. I don't see any connections yet, or if it's just a simple mistake. But the very idea that evidence might be stolen and that one of our people might be behind it makes me sick to my stomach." Director Sin then turns around and says, "You four are the only ones I can trust with this. We can't go to internal affairs yet. If this got out, it would compromise the integrity of our entire lab. Hundreds of cases at risk. We need to figure this out, quietly and fast." Detective Burns then smacks Barry in the back and says, "So why is the turtle here?" Barry then says, "Excuse me?" Then Christian tells Barry, "It's a nickname the plainclothes have for you, Barry." Then Morrow says, "Don't take it personally, Alan. We've worked cases with you before. Everyone knows you're great at CSI." Then Burns says, "When you show up." David Sin then says, "That's enough. Alan is here for the same reason as you two, because you're good at your jobs. Listen, find that evidence, investigate everyone, be smart and quiet, report everything to me before you make any major moves." Christian then says as everyone's leaving Sin's office, "We'll get him, sir." David Sin then stops Barry and tells him, "Hold on, Alan." Barry responds, "Sin, I know I was late again." David then says, "I hadn't noticed. Today. But that isn't why I need to talk to you. Harley had brunch with Iris." Barry looks caught off guard as he says to David, "Iris, she talked to him? What did she say?" "I haven't. Is she?" David replies by saying, "I need you to tell me if you're good to work." And Barry says, "I'm fine, Sin." Director Sin then asks Barry, "Are you?" "Alan, you are without a doubt one of the best CSIs I've ever worked with, but that's only when your head is in the game. This investigation needs you to be at your best. The crime lab and this team needs you to step up." Barry then turns and puts his hand on his head as he looks down and says, "Maybe I should work this assignment by myself. A case that is this important to the crime lab, it would be better if I don't involve anyone else. That would be safer for everyone." David Sin then says, "I'm gonna be candid with you, Barry. I don't know why you're always late to everything, and I don't care. But if you can't be bothered to be a team player, to work with Christian and the detectives when the crime lab needs you, then I question your commitment to the job." Barry then leaves the Central City Police Department as he thinks to himself, "If only Sin knew what I've done for this city. What I've done. What I've sacrificed. It just makes my blood boil. Maybe I should just tell Sin to get someone else to investigate this case. Right now, I don't even want to work. The only thing I want to do is talk to Iris." Just as Barry is sitting down at the steps of the CCPD, we see the Road Reapers drive by the station. Barry sees them and says, "The Road Reapers, twice in one day, and right in front of the police department. How cocky do you have to be? This morning I let him get away. Now I'm mad!" Barry then pulls out his flash ring and changes into his negative flash suit and begins chasing after the Road Reapers. While Barry is running after them, he thinks to himself, "Earlier I was worried my powers put Central City in danger. I'm less concerned with these criminals." We then see Barry Allen as a negative flash race side by side with the Road Reapers as he attacks their bikes, then says, "This is the finish line, Reapers! You lose!" The Reapers then crash their bikes and they're now defeated. We then see the negative flash now standing over them, crackling with extra negative speed force energy. Negative Flash and yells at the Reapers in a rage, "You think you could actually run away from me? In my city?" One of the Reapers then says in fear, "We weren't running from you, we're running from him!" Then, suddenly out of nowhere, we see a huge metal metahuman jump up and crash down in front of the Negative Flash as the metahuman says, "There you are, my boys!" Barry thinks to himself as he sees this metal monster, Shrapnel, Mark Schaefer, a monster made from metal, organic metal, broken pieces of destruction and wreckage. He was serving a life sentence in Iron Heights, but took advantage of the chaos surrounding Thorn's escape and skipped the joy. Negative Flash smiles and says, "Didn't think you'd be dumb enough to stay in Central City, Shrapnel." We then see Flash throw a bolt of negative speed force energy at Shrapnel as he yells, "I'll take you apart, just like I took down your partners." Shrapnel gets hit by the blast, then says to Flash with a smile, "Ha ha ha, that tickles." Barry then thinks to himself, his voice, like knives sharpening. Every bolt of lightning does nothing. Shrapnel's body just reassembles. Shrapnel then turns and says to the Road Reapers, "You've got it all wrong, Flash. I ain't working with these punks. There's a new game in town, and they haven't been paying to play, and the boss wants to set an example." Negative Flash then says, "New game." Then the Road Reapers yell, "Run!" We then see Shrapnel smile and say, "And here I thought the Reapers were going to be hard to catch, but because of you, Flash, they're dead!" Then Shrapnel shoots millions of shards of metal from himself in every direction, giving off a loud shakroom, killing the Road Reapers, and that ends today's story. Comic published by DC Comics. All rights, story art, and characters belong to DC Comics and their respective owners, not me. This has been The Flash, issue 28, Negative Part 1, and I'm your host, Keith One Shot. If you like this video, make sure to check out the rest of my Comic Complete dramatic reading series, and support DC Comics by picking up a copy of the trades and single issue comics. Support your local comic book shop, take care, and have a great day. Goodbye!